And look at it, just pulls out of that corner. 590 pound-feet of torque.
It's like an elephant wearing ballet slippers. You can just balance the car.
Welcome to Hagerty's Rated, the review show where we put a journalist and a race car driver into the same car to get their different points of view. At the end, we score the cars based on how they drive, how they feel, and how we think they'll age. Today, the Audi RS6 Avant gets rated.
The Audi RS6 wagon. I'm excited that this is here in the States, and anytime a product comes from Quattro GmbH, that's the performance division of Audi, you can expect great things. What's crazy is that this is their halo car. It's really one of the top models for the brand, and it's a wagon. If you think about that in US standard, that's not typical at all. But good on these guys for bringing it here to the States. Oh yeah, 591 horsepower from a twin turbocharged V8. Goodness me. And then you gotta slow down. And that's where these carbon ceramic brakes, they stand up to the test. I mean, this thing is not light, let's be honest. It's right around 4,900 pounds or so. So like I said, it's not a light car. But those carbon ceramic brakes are gonna work for you. They get this thing stopped in a hurry. Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system, of course, on board. You have a Quattro Sport rear differential in this RS model, and that's actively moving the power to each one of these wheels to get you the best coming out of the corner. And that's really important in corners like this here at Chuckwalla Turn 9, where you get this big crest, car gets light, and it's gonna actively vector that power to the correct wheel. And that's the sort of technology that we come to expect from Audi. And look at it, just pulls out of that corner. 590 pound-feet of torque. So one of my driver coach clients just picked up a 765 LT, and he's more interested in what I think about this car than perhaps even that car he just picked up. And I think that shows you this is an enthusiast vehicle. It has a very small niche in this market in the US, but man, there are people who are very excited to see it on our shores. Overall, I don't feel getting in this vehicle there's a ton of technology. It's more like they just kind of went the old school route and hot rodded it, right? You've got a 4-liter twin turbo V8 making the right sounds, putting the power down. You got big old carbon ceramic brakes. I mean, there are 10 piston calipers up front. There are more pistons in the front brake caliper than in the engine. I mean, these are the things they threw at the vehicle to kind of hide that weight. Now the cost, I mean, you gotta pay to play. So what does all this fun cost you? Well, the one that I'm in with those carbon ceramic brakes, it ends up being right around $131,000, which is no small chunk of change. Is this vehicle for me? It's not really all that important. It's more about you watching this. Is this something that you'd want to pick up? This is that sleeper that you want, the car that's gonna command respect on the track or on the road. That was a lot of fun, but it's time for me to turn it over to Robb Holland, our pro race car driver. Let's see what he thinks.
Oh, that is a good sounding car.
All right, it's not the Nürburgring, but are you ready?
I am ready, buddy. Thank you. All right, guys, got a bit of a confession to make. I am a huge Audi fanboy. I drove for them in British Touring Car, 24 hours in Nürburgring, set a record for them at Pikes Peak. I love Audi, but more importantly, I love the Audi RS line. So I'm super excited to get on board with this thing. One problem though, and this is Audi's kind of Achilles heel, if you will, is engine placement. Audi loves putting the engine in front of the front axles. In this car, that means 55% of the weight is on the nose of the car, which means the front tires have to do so much work to get the car turned. But the Audi engineers knew that. So for this RS6, they've given the car rear wheel steer, which basically means the rear wheels steer in the opposite direction of the front to get the rear to turn a little bit more. And when you do that, it takes the work away from the front and hopefully takes away the understeer. Now, does that system work? I have no idea. Let's find out. The rear steer system in this car makes it feel like it's a car like half its size. The nose just tucks like, honestly, almost any other Audi I've ever seen. Maybe save like the R8. It's like an elephant wearing ballet slippers. You can just balance the car. It's almost embarrassing. You feel the weight coming into the corner, but then the rear wheels just kind of start working with you and get the car pointed in the right direction, which allows you to also get on throttle a lot quicker. You gotta realize, this is a station wagon. This is awesome. I mean, this thing's designed to carry groceries and kids, but yet you can make it do exactly what you want to do. Hard on the brakes into here, and then it just opens up, and you can notice the hands on the wheel. As you get into the corner, if a car is understeering, you're always tightening it, but with this car, you're opening it up on the exit. And that's just amazing to me in a car that weighs this much and is this long. This is not a race car. This is a grocery getter. Now, as a track car, obviously this is not ideal. It's got a huge amount of weight, and it's a very, very long car. So it's not as nimble as, a Porsche 911, but it's not supposed to be that nimble. I think as a road car, there's almost nothing wrong with it. You really can't fault it. Because I don't think I know of any other car that has that level of practicality and performance. Now, the steering right now is perfect for the track. I know if I were on the street, it would be probably a little bit heavy. But once again, you can change that in the settings. You change the weight of the steering wheel, you change how quickly the throttle works. So all of those things make this car really adjustable for your Monday through Friday, and then once again, up in the canyons on the weekend, you could really make this car simple. So clearly I'm having a blast with this car. I'm really eager to get in and go rate this. Let's go into the pits and see what Kevin thinks.
And now it's time for the Audi RS6 Avant to get rated. My scores, I gave it an 8 in handling and feel. Approachability, also an 8. Sound, a 7. Interior and tech, an 8. And then for look back and timelessness, I gave it both a 9 for a total of 49 points.
Interesting. Wrong, but interesting.
See double digits going up here. This is going to be interesting.
Handling and feel, I gave it a 9. Audi's rear steer system is really good, but it doesn't quite have enough to kind of pull that front end the way I like it.
I agree. What's the number again, though?
It is a 9.
9, which is also no in German, correct? So 8 is a little bit better because I do agree. It's got great feel for what this car is, but it still is heavy, and so I had to dock it at least 1 point, but we're close.
Fair enough. Approachability. It's a station wagon. Like, what is more approachable than a station wagon? This is like the ultimate family car sleeper. And so for me, gotta be a 10.
I agree with you somewhat. The Quattro system is fantastic at putting the power down, but this isn't a Chrysler station wagon. It's got 591 horsepower, so I did dock it a couple points. We're both driver coaches. Would you just let any madman behind the wheel? I don't know.
Probably not. Sound, I gave it an 11. Have you heard this thing? It's a huge beastly V8 twin turbo, 600 horsepower. It sounds awesome.
And I love it as well. That's why I gave it a high score. You're cheating. I mean, you're pushing the envelope here in the rules. We know there's a rule book. We're supposed to stay within 10.
That's my number. There it is.
I agree. Honestly, I would have turned it up to 11, maybe like you, if it was a little bit louder.
Okay, interior and tech, I gave it a 10. For me, there is so much in there to play around with in terms of driver setting and everything else. I had to give it a 10.
I see on that one, the one thing for me was just the seats. They didn't fit me perfectly. Maybe some other drivers would be great, but it's not a perfect 10 in my opinion.
Look back, I had to give it a 10. This is a car that you're gonna take a step away, turn around, and just be in awe of what this car is. It has to be a 10.
You convinced me on this one. I'm not going to lie to you. The fenders, the way they're sculpted, it really harks to like the competition cars, TCRs, Audi RS GT4. So yeah, it is one that I would constantly look back at as well.
Timelessness. I think the RS6 line in general has been one of those cars that is absolutely timeless. I mean, you look back at previous generations of cars and they still look as good today as they did 10 and 20 years ago. And I think this car is going to be the same thing.
I don't disagree with you. I think the only reason why I didn't go with the perfect 10 like you on the timelessness is that manual transmission. Now we know a lot of folks aren't gonna purchase that if they did offer it, but you and I probably would, and that's the only reason why I didn't give it a perfect 10.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, but for me, obviously it's the perfect car. I gave it a 60, that's our perfect score.
It's almost like you wanna put an order in for one.
I think I did.